passion is what drives us in our business. And if you're lucky enough to be an entrepreneur, someone who set up their own business, it's usually something that you started because you love what you do or you get some enjoyment from it. And being able to capture that and bottle that essence, I think is really key to getting people to buy into what you have to offer the world. So people aren't just buying the product or service that you're offering, they're also buying that passion from you.
I'm Anwen Cooper, founder and director of Get Fruitful Marketing, and I work with passion-fueled business owners to help them grow their businesses. My name is Welsh. People quite often ask me where it comes from, and that's because I was born in Wales. I just lived there when I was a baby, but I've always grown up in Kent and Sussex area. And I went to school in Kent, and growing up I was really interested in dancing, and I did all sorts of dancing, ballet, tap, modern, jazz, street dance, and then got involved in drama and performing, and I did theatre studies A-level, drama GCSE, and thought that I might go to drama school at one point, but decided I would actually go to university and do an academic study, and did a degree in English and philosophy. But while I was there, I joined the drama group and did lots of student drama, performing and also directing. And then I got into promoting the shows and marketing to get audiences to come and watch. And then I decided that actually that could be a career path that I could follow. It wasn't something I'd thought about before, but actually decided that I wouldn't go to drama school once I'd finished that degree, that I would prefer to get a job and start earning money rather than continue to be a student. And a job came up at the university theatre for a marketing assistant just as I was graduating. So that became my first sort of full-time job, and really enjoyed doing that. It was a really great introduction to marketing. I got to do a little bit of everything from putting brochures together to email marketing, creating a website, helping with sponsorship, all sorts of different things. So it was a really good first job and an introduction to the world of theatre marketing. And then I moved to London, and I spent the next few years working in different theatres in London doing marketing, and progressed my career kind of working up to marketing manager and then head of marketing department. So I was managing a small team, managing contractors and a budget, and having sort of responsibility for generating revenue through the ticket sales and other income streams as well. So that was sort of how my career progressed. And then I moved into an agency working with a whole variety of different arts and cultural organisations. So I was actually appointed to run a project with a group of theatres, some of the leading theatres in London. And then I moved, my role was more working with other organisations. So I worked with a group of orchestras and orchestral venues like the South Bank Royal Albert Hall, worked with a group of outer London arts venues who put on very different programmes with all sorts of different art forms, and then was also supporting art galleries and museums and all sorts of organisations and companies from across the arts and culture sector in London. So that was fascinating, and just really expanded my experience of working with a variety of different art forms and organisations large and small. So I think the great thing about working in the arts is that you get lots of free tickets to see shows and to private views and special events like that. So you do get exclusive access, and you get to sort of engage as an audience member or as a participant as well. And that's really lovely. And I think it's just obviously it's a creative sector, it's a very supportive sector, it's a very sociable sector as well. So I think, there's all the benefits that go with that. On the flip side, obviously, it's often long hours, not as well paid as it might be in other industries. Sometimes there's kind of big personalities that you have to manage. So I think, as with any job, there's always, pluses and minuses. But yeah, I loved that. When you see the audience in the room or arriving for an event, there's a real immediacy that you get and a satisfaction that you get seeing the fruits of your labour in front of you, and hearing the applause at the end, and seeing people smiling and talking about it afterwards is such a buzz. It's very unlike the reward, I guess, that you get from lots of other industries where you're not so connected to the customer or end user of that experience. So an example of a very exciting project that I was involved with, I was actually hired to launch a new venue, which was really unique kind of opportunity that, you don't get a new art centre opening every day. So that was fascinating, being there from the beginning, before it even opened, planning the campaign to launch, and then seeing people come in to the venue for the very first time. And it was in an area of deprivation, so a lot of people had not had much experience of engaging with arts events. And I remember some of the comments were things like, I've never been to the theatre before. How does it work? Is it like a cinema? So there's real life actors on the stage. Oh, okay. People hadn't had that experience before. So that was really fascinating and exciting. Another very different experience that I was involved with was working with the agency, a group of theatres, and then with orchestras and also arts venues. This was a big data project, so we took box office and ticketing information from all the organisations and put it together into a big data analysis exercise. And perhaps it's not as exciting and glamorous as going to see shows and all of that customer facing stuff, but behind the scenes, actually the data that you can get from the ticketing information is really fascinating and can produce really useful insights to help with programming, decisions about the future of the organisation. It gives you a much deeper understanding of the types of audiences that are coming and engaging with the work. And you can use that for sort of planning and also reporting to funders as well, where that's the case. So after the agency, I moved into an events company for a while and was involved with rebranding that organisation and creating a marketing strategy to grow them. And then I moved out of London, moved back to Kent, which is where I grew up mostly, and had my daughter and became a mum. And at that time, I decided to set up my business, Get Fruitful Marketing. And that was a decision I took so that I could spend more time with my daughter, I could have more flexible working hours, and I could choose the clients that I wanted to work with. Built my consulting business basically around 2013, 2014, and has sort of grown and developed over time since then. When I started my business, I made the decision that I would stop working with the arts because I felt that in Kent there wasn't as much opportunity as there had been in London. And I built my business basically through networking and referral. So I was going out to breakfast meetings, lunch meetings, after hours meetings. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I joined other similar organisations, and I wasn't meeting arts and creative people at those types of events. It was mostly professional services. And that's how I grew my business basically, was through the people that I met, through the connections that I found, through the networking. And I found that actually, because of my background in selling experiences, that translated quite well to business to business type marketing, where I was selling a service. So that's very much my background, selling an experience or a service. I developed sort of my business through those channels, and it sort of took me in that direction. But I've ended up coming back to working with arts and creative businesses over time. Yeah. Although that's not the whole focus of what I do, I still work with a very wide variety of clients from all different industries. So with Get Fruitful Marketing, I'm not a marketing agency, but I'm a marketing consultant myself. I have other people that support me where needed, or I can collaborate with agencies or in-house marketing people. So I'm very flexible in the way that I work, but I basically have a program that I offer which takes people through a process to create a marketing strategy for the business. And that's always the starting point, and that's the big part of the work that I do. So I'm working with people either one-to-one as a consultant and a bit like an outsourced marketing director. That tends to be with more established businesses who have got themselves set up, so they've got a regular pipeline of work, they've got customers, they want to go to the next stage. They're not necessarily quite ready to hire a marketing person into the team full-time. And they don't necessarily want to be working with a marketing agency and paying retainer fees. So I will help them map out their plan for growth, and then once we've got that plan, we can decide between us what's the best way to implement the plan, and I can provide support if required. For smaller businesses, sort of sole trader type businesses and startups, I run a group program. It's the same process that I take people through, mapping out a marketing plan for their business, taking through exercises to think strategically about how you will grow, but we do it in a group, so it's a more affordable option.
I want you to be like this guy, the orangutan. I want you to look within. He's actually not asleep, his eyes are slightly open and he's looking down. So it's about navel gazing, okay? I think we live in a vision vacuum, is the phrase that I've come up with. A lot of people just don't have a vision. So plug the gap. I think that's the thing that I love the most about what I do, encouraging people to imagine.
Some examples of clients that I've worked with over the years, as I say, it's very varied. But it's mostly people who have some kind of experience or service to offer, and they are passionate about what they do. That's the main thing for me. So I've worked a lot with consultants, people in consulting type businesses, whether that's financial consultants, IT, technical consultants of different type. I've also worked with lots of coaches, people who coach people in different ways through business and life, and also lots of creative people who have creative businesses of different sorts, so designers, artists, things like that. And one of my long-standing current clients is Francis Knight, who some people might know are public art consultants, and I work with them to help them go through a rebranding process, create a new website and a new look and feel for their brand, and also a whole load of content that they can put out to share their expertise and position themselves as thought leaders in their field. So we've created a podcast series, we've created downloadable resources, sort of like mini ebooks, we've created blog posts, social media posts, all sorts of things like that. And yeah, just help them sort of look at their approach to sharing their expertise in a way to bring in new business and new opportunities, and also some assets that have helped them through the new business acquisition process. So things that can feed into conversations that they're having with new inquiries and new prospects. There's things that we've produced that just make those conversations easier. Something that's really important to me in my business is working with people who have a passion and a purpose and a strong set of principles, and that's sort of the starting point for my process and how I work with people. And I really believe that business can be a force for good in the world. I've actually created a whole podcast series around that theme, interviewing different business owners about how they're using their business as a force for good. So I love amplifying those stories and sharing ideas for how people can sort of weave that into their work. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I connect a lot with artists and creatives, because obviously there's a passion there, but there's often also a deeper underlying purpose and a desire to create positive change in the world. So yeah, I'm really interested in how people kind of use their work to further a mission and a bigger vision in service to something other than themselves. And that's the thing that really excites me about business, that it has this potential to create positive social impact, social change, but also thinking about how we have an impact on the planet and how we can reduce negative impact and create more positive impact through our work. I mean, there's different ways in which I look to do that through my business. One initiative that I've aligned myself with is becoming a member of a movement called B1G1, which stands for Buy One, Give One. It's a really fascinating social giving movement, and it's basically a way of finding charitable causes that align with your mission. And there's various projects that I've chosen to donate a portion of profits towards. So one project in particular that's really aligned with Get Fruitful Marketing is based in Africa, and it's a tree planting scheme. So they fund the planting of fruit trees specifically, and the beneficiaries of that are families who can pick the fruit and then sell it to generate an income for their families. So I just find it's a really fascinating project because for me it ticks the triple bottom line. Some people might be familiar with that phrase. It comes from the world of sustainable business, and it's basically looking at people, planet and profit. So rather than the traditional way of measuring success in business, which is all about the financials, how much money are you turning over and how much profit are you generating? For me, that's just a part of the puzzle. Yes, it's important that we make money in business because we have to cover our costs. We have to be, rewarded for our time and our effort, and we need to live and pay our bills and hopefully have a bit extra to do some fun stuff and enjoy our lives. That's really important. But I don't believe in doing business at, for profit's sake and at the cost of the planet and people's well-being. So for me, it's always about a balance of those three things. And yeah, that particular Buy One, Give One project that I've been supporting really ticked all three boxes because yes, it's generating income for the families, it's ticking the profit box, but it's also, giving people something meaningful and supporting them in their lives. So it's ticking the people box, and obviously more trees are needed. We all know that for climate change. So it's also helping the planet. So I just really love that one charitable project kind of ticks all of those boxes, and also the fact that it's fruit trees kind of aligns with my business brand being Get Fruitful Marketing. So that's just one small way that I've chosen to create more good in the world, sort of beyond the immediate impact of the clients that I'm working with. I really like the fact that I can extend my reach to actually support projects further afield as well.